Very good to be here again. I'm very pleased to be here in Jordan. I think I saw many of you the last time I was here. It's always an honor to be in this country. As President Obama has said, Jordan is an invaluable ally of the United States. They are an invaluable ally in this global campaign against Daesh, and it truly is a global campaign with 67 members of our global coalition. But Jordan is really a bedrock founding member of this overall effort against Daesh. This is obviously a very tragic incident. It is under investigation, and we will support Jordan as it continues with this investigation. I was very grateful for the very sincere expressions of condolences from His Majesty for this incident. And nothing here would come between Jordan and the United States as we continue to support each other and continue to support Jordan as a pillar of stability in this region and as a pillar in our overall coalition against Daesh. Let me briefly just talk about where we are in this overall campaign. And we analyze this battle against Daesh in three dimensions. First is in the core in Iraq and Syria. That is where Daesh, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi declared this false caliphate. And they used to always talk about, when you go back to their propaganda from 2 years ago, this historic, expanding, unstoppable movement. Every single piece of propaganda they would had retain and expand the caliphate. And they said to people all around the world, come and join our historic, expanding movement. Bring your families. This is where we are changing history. That was a couple years ago, and they can't say that anymore because their territory is rapidly shrinking as we speak, which I'll discuss in some detail. Outside the core in Iraq and Syria are the global networks. We call them the networks because they are truly global. Those are the foreign fighter networks. About 40,000 foreign fighters have poured into Syria over the last 5 years. I'm happy to report it is much harder for them to get into Syria now. Don't take it from me. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi himself issued an audio tape from some deep hiding place the other day. And he said, turns out it's actually really hard to get to Syria now, so maybe think about going somewhere else. But there are global networks, foreign fighter networks. There are global propaganda networks. There are propaganda machine and media networks. Those have also been significantly degraded. And there are global financial networks, which we have also almost now entirely cut off. The third dimension of Daesh are their affiliates around the world. They claim to have 8 of these so-called affiliates. Most of them are just pre-existing terrorist organizations, such as Boko Haram in Nigeria, for example, that one day decides to fly the flag of Daesh. Where we see Daesh as an affiliate, actually sending leaders, sending money, sending resources, we take it with utmost seriousness. That primary example is in Libya. Libya is where they hope to establish a third capital in its phony caliphate, and that was in Sirte. And now they are about to lose Sirte entirely. So we are making significant progress against this very serious threat. However, this will be a multi-year effort. It's a generational effort. And even after we get Daesh out of Mosul and out of Raqqa, which we will, the long-term ideological struggle against these extremist organizations will continue. And we will very much count on and support our vital partners in this region, most indispensably with our partners in Jordan. Just briefly on this map, I'll just discuss where we are. A lot of this has been in the news, but I can bring you up to date to the extent that I've been brought up to date. I will start with the number 3. So I'll go backwards because that is Mosul. Mosul is where Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi in the summer of 2014 ascended to the Grand Mosque and declared a caliphate. It is their national capital. It is a capital that they have said to the world that they will hold on to. We worked with the Iraqi security forces to rebuild those forces for the last 2 years. We worked with them to retake territory. All the green on that map is area that has been retaken from Daesh. And not a single speck of territory that has been retaken from Daesh has Daesh come back and taken back. And there's a good reason for that. We're not only focused on supporting our partners on the ground to defeat Daesh, we're focused on what comes next, to make sure this is a lasting defeat, to make sure that local people in these areas that have been terrorized from Daesh will be in charge of their local affairs, their local security, to set the conditions for refugees to return home. And even as displaced people are coming out of Mosul now to get away from Daesh. 1 million Iraqis have actually returned to their homes in areas that have been liberated from Daesh. So when it comes to Mosul, we're working to apply all the lessons that we've learned in these very difficult places like Tikrit, like Ramadi, and relying on the Iraqi security forces that we have helped train and the Kurdish Peshmerga that we have helped train as a coalition to take the fight to Daesh. We're now in the third week of this operation. Everything right now is ahead of schedule. Very importantly, the planning that went into this operation was truly extraordinary. We are seeing cooperation between the Iraqi security forces and the Kurdish Peshmerga that is totally unprecedented. They are literally working together on the battlefield. I had the honor of visiting a hospital in Erbil where wounded Kurdish Peshmerga from the front lines near Mosul were recovering together in the same room with members of the Iraqi army. And they both said they want to get back on the front lines and fight Daesh as brothers. Truly extraordinary cooperation. You may have seen this last night. Prime Minister Abadi visited the front lines of Mosul. He visited the Iraqi forces on the front lines of Mosul. And then, very importantly, he went to Erbil to meet with President Barzani, the leaders of the Kurdish Peshmerga. And it was not only President Barzani, Prime Minister Abadi, but also the commanders of the Kurdish Peshmerga, the commanders of the Iraqi security forces, sitting together to plan and finalize the next phase of this campaign, and to talk about what comes next in Mosul after Daesh. And what comes next will be very important. We have a very well-resourced humanitarian plan in place to care for the internally displaced from Mosul. So far, we have about 37,000 displaced people from Mosul. They are being taken care of by the heroic efforts of not only the Iraqis who are working to take care of the refugees and the IDPs, but also the NGOs that are in place, particularly led by the UN team in Baghdad. They're doing a tremendous job under very difficult circumstances. So right now, everything in Mosul is ahead of schedule on all axes of advance, but Daesh, as we expected, is putting up a fierce fight, and I expect this will take some time to conclude, but right now, the plan is very much on track. At the same time, we are not going to allow Daesh to have sanctuary anywhere else, either on that map or around the world. So today you may have seen the initial phase of operations to liberate Raqqa have begun. This will happen in phases. It'll happen in very close consultations with our partners on the ground, Syrian Democratic Forces, and also with our allies in the region, particularly Turkey. And our chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Dunford, is in Ankara today, talking with his Turkish counterparts about the subsequent phases of the Raqqa campaign. So the Raqqa campaign will proceed in phases, very deliberate phases. There is an isolation phase, which began today, and there will be subsequent phases to make sure that we kick Daesh out of Raqqa, and that will happen. As we do that, we are very focused on southern Syria and making sure that our close ally here in Jordan is protected in southern Syria. So you can see on the map some of the focus points, particularly Al-Tanf and some of those other areas. We're very focused in working with the Jordanians to make sure that threats to their border do not emerge. That is a fundamental priority of ours as the United States and as a coalition, so we'll continue to work on that. So we will be applying constant, simultaneous, synchronized pressure against Daesh in the core in Iraq and Syria. This is ongoing now and will accelerate over the coming weeks and months, and also globally against the networks and against the affiliates. It is a global campaign. That's why we have a global coalition. And the epicenter, of course, is here in Jordan, which is a bedrock ally of ours across every aspect of this campaign. From the military fight with Jordanian pilots in the skies every single night on what we call our air tasking order, to the training, and to the ideological component of the campaign, which is really one of the most important aspects.